This is the 7th video in the tutorial series where we make this animation with a Blender+Python script. Hi, I'm Victor Stepanoff. You're on the final stretch of this tutorial series. Let's see what's coming up. In this part, we'll be adding an HDRI light setup to the scene. We'll start off with a blank slate. Add the nodes we need for the HDRI, align the nodes, and make the connections. The mental model for this video will be similar to what we had in the previous video for creating the material. We'll start off by creating a function called applyHDRI. In that function, we'll remove all the nodes from the default world shader setup. Next, we'll add back the world output node, add the environment texture node and the rest of the nodes we need. We'll then move the nodes into place and connect them. Make sure to keep this in mind as we edit the script. As always, you can find the code we'll be starting off with on the GitHub page for this series. Look for Start Code in the description. I'll add the code that we'll have at the end of this video right underneath that. For this tutorial, we'll need an environment map image file. I'm going to get mine at polyhaven.com. I'm going to navigate to HDRIs. And then in the search bar, search for Dresden and select the Dresden Station Night. At the top right, I'm going to download the 1K image file. And if you're finding yourself constantly using Polyhaven, make sure to support them on Patreon. After downloading the HDRI, I'm going to move from my downloads into a temp folder on my C drive. If you're following on Mac or Linux, you can create a temp folder in your home folder. We'll need to modify our scripting workspace to show the world environment shader. Go down here and select world, and this will show us the world shader. The HDRI setup that we're going to be implementing with Python today is based on a setup that I learned from a FlippedNormals video. I'll link the video in the description. Make sure to watch it to get a deep understanding of what we're doing with Python, and also give that video a like. Let's create this HDRI setup by hand. I'm gonna duplicate this background node. I'm gonna search for, by pressing Shift A to search, mix shader. Put it here, connect this here. Also need a light path. I'm going to set it up here, connect the camera array into the back here. Next we'll need an environment texture. Connect the color here, and a mapping node, and a texture coordinate generated to this vector, and this vector here. Now I'm going to search for the HDRI we downloaded at the start of this video. Now, if I go to the viewport, I'm going to hit Z and then rendered, and now I'll have light in our scene. We'll be able to modify the background color right here. And of course, the strength of the HDRI right here. Let's see how this looks. To create these nodes in Python, we'll need to know the type name of these nodes. We're going to do it the same way we did it for the material nodes in the previous video. We're going to go into the interactive Python console and loop over all the nodes of the world environment. I created a loop and looped over all of the nodes in the world environment and printed out the node name with some formatting. I left 20 characters right here, so it's like nicely aligned, and the print out the type, and this is right here, this part. Also, we'll need to know the path to the HDRI file on our disk so we can reference that in Python as well. We're going to find this out by entering this. This is going to be the path to the HDRI. Let's start creating the apply HDRI function. Let's go over into the text editor right here and go to the top where we'll have the helper functions end. And let's add apply HDRI. Let's copy over this path and the type names from the interactive Python console. I'm going to select all of this, hit tab to indent, and then hit Control// to comment it out, and then indent again by hitting tab. To create this HDRI setup, we'll need to do the following things. We'll need to get a reference to the world shader through Python, and remove all the nodes in that world shader, and add the nodes that you see here on this list. Then we'll need to connect all these nodes with Python. Let me write this out in comments so we can have this as a reference as we go and add the code. All right, I finished writing out all the comments where just going through and getting the reference, deleting the nodes, creating all these nodes that we see at the bottom of the screen. And then we set up the links that connect to each node. Now let's get a reference to the world shader and remove all the nodes. Now let's add this call to apply HDRI right after the loop where we create all the curves. It's going to be at the bottom. It's going to be somewhere here. So find the gen scene function. And then right after this for loop right here, I'm going to add apply HDRI. And now let's run it. As you can see, the viewport doesn't have any lights, and there are no nodes in the world shader. Now let's go back to the apply HDRI function and start adding some nodes. Control-C this, and then Control-F, paste right here, and then hit the wrap, and then find next. So that's a quick way to get back to the apply HDRI function. Now let's go to the very bottom and add the world output node. Now let's run this. We look into the world shader. Here we have the world output right here. Let's go back to the editor and hit Control-T to collapse that side panel. And I'm gonna add the rest of these nodes. All right, I finished adding the rest of the nodes. Again, I'm just using the variable for the world node tree and adding a new node with the type name that we just got out of the Python Interactive Console and assigning that new node to a variable. So this is the texture coordinate, this is the mapping node, this is the environment texture. We got background number 1, background number 2, the light path, the mix shader, and the world output that we just created a minute before. Now let's run this and see what happens. We can take a look at the world shader, and down here you can see all these nodes were added. And now let's place them so they're all aligned The shader editor is a 2D plane and it has an X and Y coordinate. We're going to use the X coordinate and move each of these nodes along the X axis. I'm going to create a new variable right here and call it X location, and then assign that X location to the location of each node and adding some value to offset each node. Let's run this and see how this looks. All right, we modified the texture coordinate in the mapping node. So let's dig those nodes out from this pile. So we don't need this. Here we go. So the texture coordinate node starts at 0, 0, and then we add 200 right here, and then offset the next mapping. I'm going to update the rest of the locations of the nodes. Finished updating the rest of the location for the nodes. I updated the environment texture node location. I updated the background, the first background node location on the x-axis. I updated the location of the second background node on the X and Y. So I put the second node underneath the first one. Then I updated the light path and set that X location and the Y location as well. So you'll see that in a minute when I run this. Then we have the mix shader and the world output. Now let's run this. All right, let's see how this looks. All right, you can see all the nodes are aligned. We have the two background nodes right above each other, then the light path right here. This is achieved by modifying the Y coordinate, right? Now let's connect these together. I'm gonna go to the very bottom of this function and start adding the links. So find the setup node links comment and let's start adding and connecting things. I'm gonna start off with connecting the world output and the mix shader. I'm gonna connect like this with Python. Now let's run this. Actually gonna disconnect this and then let's run this. All right, as you can see, we have a link there. I'm gonna go forward and set up the rest of the links. All right, I finished adding the rest of these links. Also, these lines were getting a bit long, so I started from a new line. You can do that when you open a parenthesis and indent right here, and then you can kind of organize it in a more readable kind of way. So let's see what we did here. We have the texture coordinate node generated, so it's right here. So generated, going into the vector of the mapping node. So this is the mapping node and this is the vector. So this is going to be going here. Next we have the mapping node vector. So that's the output right here, right? Going into the environment vector input. So it's going to go right here. Next we have the environment output color right here. Going into the background, this is the first background node right here, into the input. So this will go here. Then we'll have our background node, right, this one right here, going into the mix shader and this shader, this first one right here. Next, we'll have the second background node, so it's this, the background here going into the mix shader, second shader. So this is, since the name shader is used twice here, you need to use the index. So this is going to be 0, 1, 2. It might be not that straightforward, but bear with me. We're going to figure this out. And then next we have the light path node right here above that. So the is camera array right here. That's going to go into the back right here of the mix shader. And then we have the mix shader going into the surface, right? Let's run that and see what this looks like. All right, as you can see, everything's connected. We have some light going on right here, but it's not quite what we want because we're not using any HDRI. Let's fix that. Now let's find the environment texture right here where we're creating it. So mapping, environment texture, here we go. And let's load the HDRI. We'll need the variable that defines the environment texture. All right, so we're assigning this image that we're loading right here by using this path we're going to set up in just a second, and assigning it to the environment texture node. Let's put this path to image as a parameter that we pass in to this function. So I'm going to paste that right here. And before we go anywhere, remember we had the path, the environment texture we saved right here at the very bottom. So I'm going to press Control X to cut that. And then let's go to the very bottom where we're calling this apply HDRI function. So I'm going to assign this path and pass it into our apply HDRI function. On Mac and Linux, your path is probably going to look like something like this. And on Windows, by the way, you don't have to use these backslashes. You can just add this, and it's going to be the same thing. All right, let's run that. Okay, let's press Control Space to see a closer look in the viewport. You can see we actually have the light there, so that's great. And if we look at the bottom, you can see that we did assign this HDRI that we downloaded. Now I want to provide the ability for us to control the strength of the background nodes. So these right here. I would like to be able to control this and this. Let's create two new variables and pass them into our apply HDRI function. Now let's go up to apply HDRI function and assign these strength values. Now let's find the background nodes and assign these values that we're passing in. As you can see, the values that we're passing in have been updated in the world shader, and you can clearly see that it's a lot dimmer in the viewport. I would also like to have the ability to set the background color. We're going to do this by adding another line here and setting the color and setting it to a parameter we'll be passing into this function. Go to the top and let's just scroll all the way down where we're calling apply HDRI. And let's run it. I'm going to make it a bit brighter so we can see. Right, it's setting a background color now. All right, let's move the code that we just created into a separate function to organize our code better. Since we're using context here, we'll need to provide it as a parameter. And again, if I comment this out, we won't be adding any lights, so let's just run that and see how that looks. As you can see, we have our old world shader, nothing's getting added, right? And now I'm gonna uncomment this and we'll start generating our HDRI scene. And with the final step, I wanna move the curve creation code into a separate function as well. So I'm gonna call it gen centerpiece. And I'm gonna call it from this gen scene function, and I'm going to move the gen lights up there as well. Now let's run it. All right, that works. Make sure to save your progress. And as always, if you have any questions, make sure to ask them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. In the final video for this series, I'll show you how you can get the same result with less code. Make sure to subscribe to see more videos like this.